Think about throwing a wrench into some gears of a finely tuned machine. Is it going to be a finely tuned machine when you throw a spanner in the works? You're going to have limited movement, and this now will cause pain. But we're going to put pain on a shelf for a moment and talk about range of motion, because this now is more important to improve than focusing on the pain relief. If you have back and hip pain and you're not improving your range of motion, then what are you doing? Listen to this episode where I'm going to help you improve your range of motion, create more awareness of why, and then get the ball rolling. It's going to put pressure on your back and your hips, and now you're going to lead into an injury, even more so. So remember that if you're not improving this range of motion, you're just going to keep going through compensating movements, and you're going to get deeper into the pain cycle. Welcome to your go-to source, where I'm going to dive deeper into the world of health, wellness, and improving the dance of your body's mechanics. So today we're going to talk about how to ease your back and hip pain through the power of movement and improving your range of motion. Whether you're sitting at a desk, you're a weekend warrior, or even if you've just thought or started picking up the groceries and that job has become a mission, I want you to listen to this episode and unlock some secrets in improving your back and hip pain. But why should you focus on range of motion? So I want you to imagine for a second that your movement, or each and every movement of yours, is fluent, free of pain, and executed efficiently, so with ease. So that's the power of improving your range of motion and therefore improving your biomechanics. So it's not just about improving pain. And this is where people think that they have to improve their pain to be pain-free. So yeah, key is improving pain, right? But the journey to you being pain-free means that your range of motion needs to be optimal for efficient movements. So this is now making sure that every movement you make is quality. Every step you make is efficient, and every load that we lift, we do it to your body's capabilities. So firstly, let's take it back so that you can actually understand your back and hip pain a little bit further. Let's be honest, in this day and age, we're either sitting for too long or standing too long. This will lead to weakening of your muscles, either weakening of your muscles or tightening of your muscles, especially if you're just living life and you're just working, you're coming home, you might be taking the dog for a short walk, cook dinner, Groundhog Day, repeat. I want you to imagine that your muscles are like elastic bands. So if elastic band doesn't get regular movement, doesn't get used as much, it actually starts to deteriorate. It loses its flexibility, it loses its strength. Your muscles are similar, and then you will lead to injury. So when this happens, so we're just going about our day, we know that we're starting to get some aches and pains, but this is the beginning of your muscles either weakening or tightening. Then you're going to go and move something heavy. So let's just say that you move a coffee table at home, or you're moving your bed, or you're moving something at home that causes you to lift something in an incorrect way. Then you're already going to put more strain on that weakened or tightened area, aka you're going to now have pain. And this matters a lot because your back and your hips are actually central to your system. And if your back and your hips are not supporting every single movement, they're not supporting you carrying loads, they're not actually encouraging you, or you can't have neutral spine because your muscles are actually imbalanced, then we're going to restrict your range of motion. Now, we've got joints in our body, and we have them for good reason. We need to actually make sure that all our joints are going through the correct range of motion for efficient movement. Think about throwing a wrench into some gears of a finely tuned machine. Is it going to be a finely tuned machine when you throw something, a spanner in the works? No, it's not. Your muscles are going to become stiff. You're going to have limited movement, and this now will cause pain. I say to my clients all the time, let's just put pain on a shelf for a moment. Yeah, that's really hard when you've got pain and you live and breathe pain. But we're going to put pain on a shelf for a moment and talk about range of motion, because this now is more important to improve than focusing on the pain relief over here in this section. So we really need to focus on range of motion through each joint, because when we don't have correct range of motion and our muscles become stiff, muscle imbalance happen, it's now a sign that your body's natural mechanics are out of balance. And now you're going to start getting deep into the pain cycle. So when your hips become restricted, let's say that you can't flex or extend your hips correctly, you're going to now compensate movement going to put pressure on your back and your hips. And now you're going to lead into an injury even more so. So remember that if you're not improving this range of motion, you're just going to keep going through compensating movements and you're going to get deeper into the pain cycle. So first, it might start at your hips, and now your pelvis is going to be out of alignment. Then your ankle's not going to be lining up with your hips, and the knee is going to cause pressure. It's just that domino or ripple effect. The interconnectedness in your body means that issues in one area is just going to spread to another. Pain and movement, when we are in a imbalanced, inefficient manner, doesn't just stop. It doesn't just think, oh, you know what? Lisa's had enough and now I'm going to move to Debbie next door. It's not going to happen like that. It's just going to keep, chucking a little rock into the pond and the ripples just keep on going. And it's going to affect your overall mobility plus your health. Let's be honest. Okay, so the key word that I'm getting at here is range of motion. So you probably have heard it being thrown around, that word, and it might sound technical to you, but basically we need complete range of motion, efficient range of motion, freedom through our joints to get out of pain long term. You might think that stretching is going to get you out of pain, but just by releasing or stretching is not going to improve range of motion through each joint. So this is, to put it simply, how far and freely can your joint move through movement, through all movement? So bending, through rotating, through stretching, through loading up your body. How free is that joint? So imagine being able to reach up and grab something. Imagine being able to put dishes away in the dishwasher and move with ease, efficiently through every single movement you do. So when you can, and you can do, you can get out of pain and have this happen because it's a matter of having the correct mobility and stability through muscles. So every muscle is attached to structure, to bone. You've got ligaments and tendon that attach to muscle and bone as well. Ligament tendons need loading. Muscles need the correct balance between mobility and stability for your joint now to complete full range of motion. So it's not just about flexibility. When you are restricted in an area, you then think that, hey, I need to be more flexible. I need to go do stretches. That's not what you want. You need to get the correct balance. So for you to have correct or healthy range of motion, this is the key for you to performing everyday tasks efficiently. That's the key for you correcting your biomechanics to move with ease. So biomechanics is how your body moves, is designed to move through movement. Remember, everything from your big toe to your ear is connected. So where you might have hip pain in the left hip but a right foot issue, it's connected. It's all connected. And you want to improve your biomechanics. If you have a left hip restriction, you're going to have another joint that's compensating somewhere along the chain. And that's a biomechanics. That's my job. That's what I do. I fix people doing that. In saying that, if you actually have no idea, then go to my website, www.rebuildprogram.com.au, get in touch with me and I can help you out. That is my job. Because if you are continually stretching and getting nowhere, but just maybe a little bit of relief, you're not focusing on the range of motion. It's actually really crucial for you in getting out of pain, to improve your movement. So when you can't move a joint through its intended range, let's say that your back and your hips are stiff, the muscles and connective tissue are going to adapt by shortening or weakening. So this is the compensation happening. So let's say that you, me, for instance, I was in a moon boot for a very long time, cracked my ankle, snapped my ankle in moon boot, plaster, blah, 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 rehab process, and I developed a limp due to the moon boot. And even when I took the moon boot off, I still had this limp. So my body shortened, weakened, and adapted to that movement because it was now the normal movement. And it's very hard now to retrain, but that's what needs to happen to improve range of motion. And therefore, for me personally, that limited ankle range of motion, hip range of motion, developed knee pain and also a shoulder drop. So you can see how everything is interconnected and it will lead to pain. So focusing on your joint, putting pain up on a shelf for a second and focusing on your joint will improve your pain. will give you a better understanding whether it's restriction, whether it's mobility or stability that we need to focus on more. And the pain will travel. Again, it's not going to just for me, it's not going to go, okay, Lisa's at its tether and Lisa can't take any more pain anymore, so I'm going to move to Debbie next door. Not going to happen. Just going to keep traveling. It's that ripple effect. You will run into more injuries when one joint is actually restricted and you're not focusing on it. I have plenty of tests for you to test your range of motion. If you have no idea what that range of motion needs to be in a particular joint, then again, go to my website, rebuildprogram.com.au, get in touch with me and I'll send you over a test, because it's very important for you to get out of pain. My job is to get people out of pain. So improving your range of motion is crucial for back and hip pain. Your back is the center of your movement. Your hip is the biggest ball and socket joint in your body. It needs complete range of motion for efficient movement. That is foundation. That is step one for you to be able to move freely, for you to be able to take forces more evenly across your body and significantly reduce pain. So, what is the relationship between mobility and stability? Okay, because stability is different to strength, but having that correct balance is actually going to play a pivotal role in your biomechanics. Every joint needs the balance between mobility and stability. So if you are only stretching, stop it. If you're getting nowhere with stretching, stop. It's not what your body needs. It's quite simple once you can get your head around it. You know, like I said, go to my website, get in touch with me, and I can help you get your head around it. There's so many resources out there, but if you Google something, is it for you? All right. What is the balance? What is it that you're missing? What's the missing link? Where is the balance missing? Are you doing too much stretching when it's actually a stability issue? So all muscles, so flexibility is a way that your muscles allows your muscles to release, allows your muscles to actually have lengthen. When you move, your muscles must lengthen and contract. That's how we move. So mobility, flexibility is the ability for your muscle to be able to lengthen. When you're restricted, your muscle actually stays shortened. Your brain sends the message, your brain sends a message to your nervous system sends a message to your muscle to contract, because we're moving. You're already in a contracted state. You're just going to keep contracting. Okay. Can you see how that pain just keeps rolling? While stability gives you the power to support each movement and actually maintain joint stability. So the likes of your knee does not like too much movement. It needs more stability for you to be able to move your hip and your foot correctly. When you have too much movement in your knee, you know that the compensation's happening between your foot and your hip, and we need to focus on that before we even touch the knee. So it's really just getting that balance right between the two, between being able to load a joint and being able to move efficiently with your muscles through a joint. So strong, flexible hips, and this is but getting that balance is going to actually mean that you're going to become injury-free. It means that your joints are going to be able to roll through correct range of motion. Big one is restriction through your hip. And this would probably lead to 80% of us listening. So restriction through your hips is a number of muscles that are being affected. You've got 17 muscles in one hip that needs to be addressed, but the biggest ones, the big ones actually need to be addressed first to make sure that their flexibility and their stability, they're able to lengthen and contract, is able to support the hips. Because once they become restricted, you are now going to get back pain. Once they become, once we have strong, flexible hips, your pelvis becomes stable. Your pelvis is foundation. Your pelvis supports your spine. Your pelvis needs stability. When you have too much movement in your pelvis, you will get pain and you will have restriction in your hip. So this is also vital for you in reducing pain, in reducing your back and hip pain. But you also have to remember, so look, I'm probably throwing lots of information at you, but you've got to remember that you're not a robot. as humans, we rely on compensation. If you were a robot, you'd be short-circuited. The mechanic would fix you. You go back to moving correctly. Us as humans, we work on compensation. Once your hamstrings are shortened, it pulls on your pelvis. You're going to get lower back pain. It's hamstrings that cause lower back pain. It's hamstrings that switch off glutes. Glutes protect your lower back. Do you know, like, biomechanics is a process, and it's a step-by-step process. But improving your range of motion is so high up on the list that you need to actually be aware of in your body. Otherwise, like I said, if you were a robot, you would have been short-circuited. If you lost 10% rotation in your hip, your ball and socket joint in your hip, as a robot, you're done. You're short-circuited. But what happens is, as humans, when we compensate, it will just go to 20% that you lost, 30% that you lost. And that percentage that you lose goes more movement into the lumbar spine. More movement. The lumbar spine only likes 15% movement, 13 to 15% movement. If you've lost 10% movement in your ball and socket joint, that goes straight to your lumbar spine. Now you've added 25% movement in your lumbar, aka pain is coming your way, my friend. So absolute range of motion only comes from the balance between mobility and stability. If stretching is all you're doing and it's not working, it's not what you need. You need the combination. You need the balance for your correct range of motion. So 1% restriction over time in your ball and socket joint, let's just say in your hip, 1% restriction over 100 steps is 100% restriction. This will decrease your range. This will keep you in the pain cycle. So I can't express enough. Put pain on a shelf for a sec and do your range of motion testing. If you don't know what range of motion testing is, go to rebuildprogram.com.au. Reach out. I'll give it to you. Stop searching the internet for stuff that's not for you. Reach out. I've got so many tests. So the biggest one when we're in back and hip pain is the biggest ball and socket joint is your hip. Okay, hip and feet are married. So they go hand in hand. But how is your hip range of motion? How is it? Where is the restriction lying? Where is it that you get pain when you do it? These all tell an answer. So let's improve range of motion by at least 1%. Is it that you have too much movement in your pelvis and too much restriction in your ball and socket joint of the hip? This is quite common. We need to swap it. We need stability in your pelvis, more movement through your hip joint. So they're things for you to actually think about. So firstly, are you doing any corrective exercises? Are they correct for you? Are they pushing the needle forward? Are they improving by 1%? If you are stretching your hamstrings, you need to get out of town because that is not what the hamstrings want. Okay, so there's all these sort of facts that you need to think about. What is going to improve the range of motion in your joint? So is what you're doing improving the range of motion? You need to really understand the balance, your balance, the understanding of your balance between mobility and stability. So if you aren't doing any stability work, you're crazy, dead set crazy. Now, stability work is not strength work. So if I said to you, you need to go and strengthen your hamstrings and you're doing, heavy deadlifts, you, my friend, are going to stay in pain. That's that. So you've got to do the correct exercises, get the foundational work done, and then you can go and do heavy deadlifts, 100%. Everything is in your range. Everything is possible. Just do it in the correct order. Improve your biomechanics. Get that balance right between activation. So if you, I'm going to say hamstrings again, or should I give you, let's say hip flexors, okay? Let's go hip flexors, the top of the bikini line. They connect from your lumbar spine to your hip, to your femur bone. Let's say that your hip flexors are restricted, causing lots of problems in your movement. Do you have great flexibility in them, but do you have good flexibility in them, but you've still got pain? Well, it's an activation and a connection issue that's causing your pain. So weak muscles, tight muscles send off the same signal. It's the movement that's going to dictate it. All right. So is your range of motion really rubbish in this area and you've still got the same pain? Well, you then need the mobility exercises. You now need the releasing exercises. Where you need to do releasing exercises to help range of motion, you will need to move into stability exercises for connection. That's a no-brainer at all. So through all my podcasts, obviously I'm passionate about every single subject, but improving range of motion, definitely if you have no idea where your range of motion is, then you need to drop everything and reach out. And I'll give you the tests, because understanding your range of motion is actually going to push you further outside the pain cycle and into more efficient biomechanics and become injury-free. It is vital for you to know your own body. And knowledge is power, right? I want you to have the most efficient movements. I want you to be able to load your muscles up. I want every step to be correct. And really, I know it sounds a little bit blur, but, that's quality of life. Don't you want to be the 90-year-old that's able to walk upstairs? I don't want to be I'm 43. I don't want to be a 43-year-old that feels like I'm 73. That's not what you want. More efficient movements mean that we're going to move with quality movement for a lot longer. Again, if you have no idea, rebuildprogram.com.au, reach out to me. I've got so many tests. I know the tricks of the trade. If I can actually set you up, I'm going to set you up and we're going to get you out of pain. That's a wrap on yet another episode. If you love the info, don't be shy. Make sure to like, follow, or subscribe, whichever platform you're on. Once again, share this on your socials, whether it's Insta or Facebook, and make sure you tag me in it at Lisa McLean or at Rebuild Program. Whether you're in chronic pain, have a nagging injury, an athlete who wants to improve your performance, or just want to be more efficient and be a better you, then this podcast is for you. And stay up to date by liking, following, or subscribing to be notified of any new episodes coming your way. On that note, I'm going to leave you until the next time, but make it your mission to be more aware and to be a better you.